right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. This is our first session in the month of July for these July webinars. So these webinars are geared towards our city agencies. So if you've joined us in June, thank you for sticking around. And if you're here with us today, we hope that you get a lot of good information. So on the call today, we have Rick Hathaway, who's the director of the Department of Public Works. Mr. Hathaway oversees 6 divisions that are responsible for maintaining 1,547 miles of street and 149 bridges in our great city of New Orleans. Rick graduated from the University of New Orleans in 1982 with a degree in civil engineering. Previously, he served as the transportation section manager and construction program manager for the National Engineering Consulting Firm, or HNTB. He also worked for the city from 1982 to 1994 in what was called the Department of Streets. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Rick, who's going to be discussing a little bit about Department of Public Works and the things they have to offer.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here and to discuss these opportunities. I apologize for my voice. I'm suffering with some allergies right now. So if sound a little scratchy there, please bear with me. So up on the screen, you see our presentation here, and I'll start with the agenda. I'll discuss the structure of our department, upcoming capital projects, maintenance projects, and then we can have the Q&A after that. First, the structure of the department. As LaSabra said, that we made up of the divisions that you see here, and I'll go over a little bit about each one just so that you can know what the department does and what we're responsible for. The first division is continuous improvement. We recently formed that division through the approval of the Civil Service Department. And what it oversees is enhancements and the electronic and technical background of the department. We recently joined with OPCD and paid for an upgrade to the 311 system and to asset management. And what that will allow, the 311 system will be a more user-friendly system that will allow contact from the city when there are any changes to a complaint. So if someone calls and complains about a pothole, then they register that through 311, and they'll get updates as to when it was inspected and when the repairs will be made and when they are actually completed. The asset management system will be connected to the 311 system, and it will have all of the assets of the department, all 1,540 something miles of roadway, our bridges, all the street lights in the department, traffic signs, traffic signals, everything that we are responsible for. And the user of the 311 system will be able to connect exactly with the issue that they are trying to report or request maintenance on. And we'll continue to engage others as well. The Sewage and Water Board has recently decided to join with us in the asset management. So eventually all the sewer, water, and drainage will be included as well. And that way we'll be kind of a more unified city as far as infrastructure is concerned. The next division is the engineering division. This division manages the infrastructure projects that includes the design, inspections, and construction of those projects. Moving on, the Ground Transportation Bureau supervises the 4 hire vehicles within Orleans Parish. That's taxi cabs, as well as limousines, and as far as school buses. And they permit the use of these vehicles. They permit the drivers that drive them. They have inspections of the vehicles, and they enforce the laws that surround the use of for hire vehicles. Next division is the parking administration. These are the ladies and gentlemen that handle parking enforcement throughout the city, whether it's here downtown at all the metered locations, or whether you're in a neighborhood and someone has blocked your driveway. These are the people to call, and they can come out and ticket appropriately, or if need be, they can tow. And then if there are violations, too many violations on a vehicle, that ends up with the booting. And many of you might be familiar with our yards under the Claiborne Avenue I-10 overpass near Canal Street. That's where all of the cars are taken that are towed. And when someone's vehicle is booted, that's where they have to go to return the boot and pay their fines. The next division is the sign and signal shops. They've been on the news recently for poor facility conditions. We are taking care of that. Although it's just temporary, we'll be putting them in new trailers on the maintenance division site on Norman Francis Parkway, right off of Tulane Avenue. What they're responsible for is to maintain the 450 signalized intersections across the city, including those on state routes. We have an agreement with the state to maintain their signals. And of course, we maintain all of this traffic signage. That's one-way, stop signs, yields, and the street name signs citywide. We've recently been able to hire a couple of sign techs and signal techs, but we do need more help, and we're looking at ways and to engage the construction community to help us with sign installation, not the production of it. We can provide the signs, but we're looking at doing contracts where we'll have, the contractor supply the poles, and then we give the signs and get better signage across the city. Next is the street maintenance division. Of course, they repair the streets and maintain the streets in New Orleans. It's obviously a very challenging job that takes place. We are underfunded as far as in-house staffing is concerned. And again, we're looking at using contracts to enhance our abilities to maintain the streets across the city. And I'll discuss more of that as we go on. And finally, we have the traffic engineering division, which is up here in City Hall. They review the traffic-related permits. They conduct safety studies as well as traffic studies, all to address residents and business concerns. If someone believes that a four-way stop sign is needed at an intersection, then that department will go out, take traffic volumes, and study the intersection to make sure that there's enough vehicles that are moving in both directions that would justify the need for a four-way. And they do that for all kinds of things, whether to change an existing street to a two-way, or maybe from a two-way to a one-way, or maybe even change a one-way back to a two-way based on new usages and more volume needed in both directions. So that's their responsibility. Moving on, I'd like to talk about the capital projects today. So right now we're in the process of spending the money that was voted on in the 2020 bond proposition. There were 3 bond sales over the last few years, and the last sale was last summer. It was in July of last year. We used some of that money to pay for the improvements in downtown New Orleans and in the French Quarter in preparation of all the events that we have had earlier this year, including the Super Bowl, Mardi Gras, and so forth, and of course the Sugar Bowl. What we're doing now is using the rest of that money to spread the work all across the city. So you can see some work has just recently started on Canal Street between Claiborne and City Park Avenue. We're doing work on the West Bank, on Woodland at the entrance to the Forest Isle subdivision. We'll be doing, and these 2 contracts just got started. We'll be doing more work all across the city. We're working out in New Orleans East on Michoud and on Morrison. in Lakeview on Milne. We'll be in Gentilly. We just recently did Townsend. We'll be doing some more streets there. We're looking at doing Alabo in the lower ninth ward. So we're trying to spread the money all across the city. So the next bond issue is what's being discussed right now. The administration is proposing a $500 million bond sale. It is now being reviewed by the city council. The city council has to place the proposed bond sale on the ballot so that the residents and voters of New Orleans can approve or disapprove of the proposal. The city council had a meeting earlier in the year, and they just recently last week had another one where the budget committee took the capital improvement program under review. It's going to go before the full council in the next couple of weeks. It has to be approved before the 1st of August in order to make the November 2025 ballot. And that's where they want to place it. What will happen is the Department of Public Works will receive about $240 million for roadway improvements. And these are to be used across the city, both on major streets and on minor streets. The propositions will be separated so that if someone wants the infrastructure to be taken care of, they can vote yes. But maybe one of the other categories they're not so interested in, they can vote no. So I'm hoping that with all of your support, we can get this passed and we'll be able to start using those funds in order to do improvements through contracts across the city. Our intention is, if it does pass in the November 2025 ballot, in spring that says 2025, it really should say 2026. We'll be advertising an engineering RFQ, and we'll select the engineering firms that will be able to do the design. Then contracting will begin, and then the bond sale should occur in early 2026. And we're looking at possibly having a program management consultant. That has not been decided yet. So on the next slide, what I want to do is talk about, these are the different streets that are being done. So there's either 4 or 5 streets in each of the council districts. These are all the major streets that are being done. They'll each be, in the multi-million-dollar range as far as construction is concerned. But of course, the DBE requirement for the city is a 35% participation. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for sidewalk repair, curb repair, asphalt paving, if that's what your company can do, or street lighting. We'll be doing street lighting as part of these projects, as well as sign replacement, drainage work. And then if the Sewage and Water Board wants to do any of the sewer or water enhancements or replacements, they will be allowed to do so as well and be a part of these projects. So you can see that we're spreading this all across the city. It will affect a lot of the major streets of the city, streets that have been ignored for some time. And now there's an opportunity to get this work out on the street if the bond issue passes. This next slide shows what we propose for the minor streets. The minor streets are decided through engineering planning studies, as well as areas of many complaints, and also from what the city council members, the district members would like to see be done as well. So $25 million is going to be allocated to each of the council districts. And those street segments will be determined over the next few months. The final category of the bond sale for DPW will be the bridges. We have, as LaSabra said, we have 149 bridges across the city. Of course, most of those are small bridges that cross canals. We are responsible for, like, the Wisner overpass, the Jordan Road overpass, the South Broad Street overpass over I-10, Those are the largest bridges we're responsible for. The bridges that are crossing the Industrial Canal or the Mississippi River are either the responsibility of the Port of New Orleans or the DOTD. We do not maintain those bridges. So you can see here, we plan on replacing the Orleans Avenue Bridge at Bayou St. John, the Fillmore Avenue Bridge at Bayou St. John, the Holiday Bridge at General de Gaulle, the Mayo Boulevard Bridge at Morrison Road. It's partially closed right now, but you can still cross. And then the same with South Broad Street. We had to close a ramp recently due to girders that have failed or that are in the process of failing. But we want to do a maintenance and improvement clear across the bridge and to, get another 10, 20 years out of that overpass. So all of that stuff, once the bonds pass, as far as the public is concerned, and the bonds are actually sold, then we'll be able to move forward on all of these projects. And again, there'll be plenty of opportunity for smaller contractors to get involved. The next thing I wanted to talk about, as I mentioned earlier, is the maintenance projects. And so these are what we're doing now is we have 4 contracts that are presently being advertised for sidewalk removal and replacement across the city. I think the city, there's been a ruling over the last couple of years that the city is responsible for the sidewalks in the public right of way. And with our staff shortages, although at one time we were able to remove and replace sidewalk, we're just not in a position to do that. So our intention here is to advertise. There'll be smaller contracts. We divided the city into 12 zones. There are 2 zones on the West Bank, and the remaining 10 are on the East Bank. And the way we set this up, the 2 zones on the West Bank will get an initial allotment of $250,000 on that contract. And then we'll have 1 large contract on the East Bank for 4 zones for $750,000. And then 2 more contracts that will handle 3 zones each. They're all geographically close together for $500,000 each. So that'll be a total of $2 million that will be spent on these smaller contracts citywide. During the last fall, when we were getting ready for the big events that were happening in our city, we did a similar thing for the French Quarter and for downtown, where we had $250,000 allotments. And rather than having the bonds set at the contract value, we were able to work with purchasing and set the bonds at the value of what we consider to be 1 or 2 task orders, which would be in the $10,000 to $20,000 range. So that way, it was more competitive for the industry and especially the smaller contractors to be able to participate. We'll be doing that again. We're also planning to do the same exact geographical zones for ditching across the city. And these are not large canal type ditches. What we're doing is the small roadside ditches across our city. Not every street has curb and gutter and subsurface drainage. A lot of the city still depends on the roadside ditches in order to move the water down to the closest catch basins, whether it's on that block or another block. We'll find that catch basin and then work backwards, digging and ditch, so that we can make sure both the roadway and private property drains as it should. And it would be a similar situation where we'll spend about $2 million and divide it up among the 4 contracts and do something similar with the bonding where, where it'll only be, the bonds will only be set for 1 or 2 task orders. And then the final one, DPW is responsible for what we call the right-of-way grass cutting. The Parks and Parkways takes care of the medians across the city. But in areas where there is brush and overgrowth that grows on the roadside between what is probably private property adjacent to the roadway that is not being maintained, DPW has to come in and cut only the right of way. It's not like we're cutting it like a lawn. It's more like a higher cut. And what we want to do here is to create one contract for the entire city to do one cut per quarter. But there are many, many miles of areas where this grass cutting will have to take place. So it's not going to be a small contract. It's going to still be in the $1 million plus range, but we'll try to do something similar as far as the task orders are concerned, to try to keep the bonding needs as low as possible to open it up to as many bidders as possible. So, and then I did mention the sign contract earlier. We do have one contract underway that is handling that, where we provide the signs and the contractor is providing the bolts and tools and U-channels that support the signs, but then is being directed where to put these with our signs being installed across the city. And we do intend to do something similar with using the geographical zones, have multiple sign contracts out as well. So this is an opportunity to have over 13 contracts that are going on that's really going to be available for a much larger base of contractors. This is not expected to be enticing to the larger contracts, the larger prime contractors. They're going to be dealing more with the bond issue and hiring you guys as subcontractors. But this way, you'll have the opportunity to be the prime contractor and work directly with the city of New Orleans and learn the contracting process that the city has. It is cumbersome and difficult at times, but we have people in both the purchasing office and the Department of Public Works that will help you with how to fill out the bids, how to get it uploaded into the city's accounting system, which is called BRASS. And then also when you do win a contract, how to set up your invoicing and how to get them approved. And they also have to get uploaded into BRASS for eventual payment. So that basically takes care of my presentation. What I have here is just what we do at the end of every presentation. I have all of the email addresses and phone numbers of some for the different departments or different divisions of the Department of Public Works. If you have any questions specifically about what that division does or any complaints, this is a way that you can contact that division.